Hey, welcome to another show here at CoralVue Facebook Live. We're streaming live from Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram as well. Thank you again for joining us. I always love to see people. I always love my guests. And today we're going to have quite a show. I don't think I have been this excited about a show as I have been, and I'm not the only one. Our producer here, Jeff, his daughter is actually looking forward. I think she's 6 years old. Jeff is going to correct me, but she is very excited to watch this show as well. So we have some. Oh, she's 7. Jeff says she is 7 and she's loving it. So I want to first say thank you. I hope everybody's safe. Everybody's dealing with the social distancing safely. We are all here. We're all doing safe. On behalf of CoralVue, I want to say welcome. If you always like the shows, if you like to see what we have in the upcoming shows, please make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that bell button that will notify you when the next show will be. We usually stream every single week, and I can't, not that I'm, bragging or anything, but so far we've had pretty darn good guests, and we've had a lot of fun doing it. But I think this one is going to top them all. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce. Today we're actually talking to women in reefing, and this is something that is amazing, because you always think of the reef hobby as a male dominated, and I hate to say that because it shouldn't. It doesn't have to be that way, and it should not. So women in reefing, that's fantastic. And to start with, I'm going to introduce my co-host, because I'm not gonna do this by myself. I mean, I'm the token guy here, but I figured we get somebody here that knows what they're doing, and everybody knows her. So you're familiar with MetroKat. Kat's a well-known hobbyist. It's a marketeer and in the industry, and she's been keeping reefs for about 9 years. As you can see, the reef tank in the back, and she also has a couple of freshwater tanks, but I won't say anything. That's just between us. I'm not saying anything in public about that. She's a blogger, speaker, and she also works for a lot of household brands in the aquarium industry. So Kat, welcome to CoralVue's live feed. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Carlos. I'm pretty excited about today as well.
Yeah, we are. So I want you to introduce our guests. I think there's no better person to introduce them than you. So please let us know who we have here.
Thank you, I will. So I'm going to say that it started with a blog article that turned into a forum post. The blog article got shared over 1,000 times. The forum thread has been seen over 4,000 times, and now we have this roundtable discussion with these amazing women that are in the hobby. They each have a unique perspective on both the hobby and the industry, and they have different experiences, and we actually, all of us, have so much to learn. So let's get to know them a little better. Let's have some wine, some tea, and let's get started. So
Yes.
First off, I'm going to introduce my co-author of the first blog, which was Women in Reefing Part 1, and that is Felicia McCaulley. Hey, girl. So without Felicia, this article would not have come about. She's been working in the aquarium and pet industries for over 15 years, and her breadth of knowledge and professional experience ranges from aquaculture, wholesale. I mean, she wears so many hats: retail, journalism, photography. She reefs 24/7, and she loves to help other hobbyists with their tanks. So Felicia, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here, and thank you once again for being my co-author. I'm waiting for part 2 with you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here.
Next, we have, below Felicia, we have Hilary. Hilary Jaffe, she started out as a hobbyist. She lives in Vegas. Hilary took her love for marine life and made it a career. So she works professionally in the aquarium industry as a social media manager and biologist. She's kept all kinds of tanks, including marine, reef, brackish, and her aquarium origin story began 15 years ago when she was captivated by a particularly plucky pufferfish. So welcome, Hilary. I'm so happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
Then right next to Hilary, we've got Nicole. So Nicole is famous already because she was in Women in Reefing Part 1. She was featured in it. Nicole is a professional scuba diver, so she could teach a lot of us, especially me, since I haven't scuba dived a lot. So she can often be found photographing corals and sharing her passion for coral reefs. Nicole is the Reef Builders event manager and is responsible for running Reef Stock. You know that they have their flagship event in Denver and then the second one in Australia. Love that picture, and that was actually like the cover for the blog article. And she also manages Reef Builders' social media accounts as a weekly contributor to the site. Nicole has a bachelor's degree in coastal geography and is originally from Vancouver, Canada. Canadian, eh? Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much, eh? Glad to be here.
And finally, I've got Kelli. Kelli is, she is actually, there's not enough that I can say about her because she also wears many hats. So Kelli Cadenas is, she works for Sea Life Michigan as a curator. And that is so special because, you know, right now aquariums and public spaces are closed. So I'm sure she has a unique perspective on what's going on. She was also the coral aquarist at the National Aquarium and interned at the Shed Aquarium. She's worked at the Virginia Aquarium during college. She's kept fish tanks since she was a tot, and she's got a passion for all things fish. In fact, if you see that little copper band behind her, she does daily drawings on Instagram on her channel, Dang Cute Fish, which has the most adorable stickers. So ladies, I'm so happy to have you here. Thank you, Carlos and CoralVue. Let's get started.
Yeah, wow. So this is, I don't think we've ever had this level of education and experience here before, so this is a little bit intimidating, but you know. We go. So one of the things that we always start this shows, and the birth of this show was because of social distancing and what's going on. Unfortunately, you know, companies that, you know, like us, my CoralVue and other companies usually put out videos and then instructional videos about products and so forth. But those are videos that have been recorded, scripted and so forth. But now with social distancing, that makes it impossible because it's kind of hard to record your own video and edit it and do all this stuff. So we decided, let's do Facebook Live. And, you know, because the people are starving for information. They got plenty of time or they're bored out of their minds, and it's like we want something different. And it turns out that people actually like watching the show, which is great. So my question to you is, how has the pandemic, how has this social distancing affected you all, you know, as an individual, and maybe in a work related, you know, how do you do this? How are you doing? Kat, let's start with Kat.
Oh, me. So I work from home. So if you think about it in a nutshell, nothing really changed. But the first 4 weeks, because first 2 weeks actually of self-quarantine, I was at a frag swap and somebody coughed on me. And I was just terrified because pretty much 4 or 5 days after that event, the state was under lockdown, and 8 o'clock, all restaurants were shut and you couldn't go inside even before that. So 8 o'clock, even takeout or pickup, whatever was shut down. So I was just terrified for the first 2 weeks. Thank goodness nothing happened. I was actually watching for information about this person too. I know her. But after that, you know, the first 4 weeks of being home, not able to go out, was actually really stressful. I'm looking at my credit card bill, and obviously for everybody, grocery bills were through the roof. And I thought to myself, could I be eating this much outside, you know, during a my regular life? Because this is crazy. Groceries cost so much less than eating out. So I think there was a lot of anxiety with what may have been going on. I did not hoard toilet paper. I didn't do that.
Okay,
But,
good to know.
eating pasta. So it was very stressful. Work-wise, after the first 4 weeks, everything sort of normalized. I would go out as necessary to get my groceries. I now go for a walk. It's been 4 or 5 weeks. I go for a walk every single day, weather permitting. So I'm doing all right. Thankfully, I'm really grateful to clients and friends and family that I think are okay. So I'm
That's
glad.
fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. How about you, Felicia? Everything okay?
I've always worked from home too. I don't think I've left my house to go to work in 6+ years. So not a lot has changed for me. Like everybody else, I've gained a few pounds for some reason, even though nothing has changed. I feel like I need a snack all the time. It's a psychological thing, I guess. I miss frag swaps. There were 2 frag swaps that had to be canceled recently, and I need new coral.
Okay. Okay. All right. We may have to have a different Zoom live for that. How about you, Kelly?
So the aquarium I work at is currently closed. It's been closed since March. So that definitely is a challenge. Obviously the animals are all still there, so they need the same level of care. So we still have a team kind of working their normal schedules there. And it's been a lot. I work from home a lot. I have 2 kids, which makes it a challenge because they're not in school. So it's a bit crazy, but we're getting through it.
Now, do you guys at the aquarium, do you have shows and off camera, like right now here I'm in Chicago, and the Shed Aquarium has this ongoing thing with the penguins. The penguins are running free, and it's kind of like they have taken over the shed, and God knows what's going to happen there afterwards if they're going to give it back. I don't blame them if they don't, but anything like that going around?
Yeah, we have on our Facebook page for Sea Life Michigan a lot of different kind of educational stuff to try to keep the kids that were coming engaged. My kids like to watch it. So lots of that stuff. We don't have penguins. We have a lot of good content.
Oh, great. How about you, Hilary?
So the aquarium I worked at, I got to work for like 2 weeks, and then they furloughed myself and one of my colleagues. So I've been distance learning and enjoying time at home, and a lot of free time.
All right. And how about you, Nicole?
For me, everything's good. I'm here in Canada. It's a little strange for me. I also work from home, but the past couple of years, my home has just been my laptop, and that was traveling a lot. So it's a little strange for me because I don't know the next time I'm gonna get on a flight to Bali or even States for that matter, I was in Denver in the first week of March when we had reef stock, and then pretty much after that, no more flying. So it's a little strange for me, not being in the air.
You were one of the few. You were one of the few lucky ones that got that last show before everything shut down. The rest of us are just kind of like freaking out here already.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation.
Yes.
So especially even thinking about going forward with shows, and like you were saying, Felicia, you want to go to frag swaps, just to think about what it's going to be like if we're going to have social distancing measures, and it will probably have to vary greatly within different cities. So super interesting to think about the future of those reef aquarium shows.
Right. Yeah. No. What I want to do is, before we usually do, it's a live show, so I like to say hello to people that come and join us, that are watching us. Ricardo is one of our sales reps. He's watching. So is Alex, Dave Madison also joining us. Michelle, thank you for joining us, Michelle. Emmanuel as well. Pablo. We have Jose Delgadillo from Mexico. He's from Guadalajara. It's fun. Reef Nutrition came over. And wow, we got quite a few people. Zach is here as well, and Chad Clayton. So this is fun. You're getting a lot of, we're getting a lot of good views in here. So Nicole, you brought up a great segue into it, which is, I wanted to talk about MACNA and the shows. And it was canceled. What are we gonna do? What are we all gonna do? What do you guys think?
I mean, I guess I can answer because I'm actually, tackling that question ourselves. Actually, we put on a show in Australia, and we actually just announced yesterday that we're postponing the event for this year. Although we do continue to work on an event for 2021, and it's just difficult. Thinking myself about renting the space. I'm thinking, well, next year, do I need to rent 2 extra halls maybe so we can spread everything out more? Trying to reimagine what it's going to be like. We love to do these virtual events just like you're doing. I think they're great, but then the frag swaps are just so unique that you have to be there, and it's difficult to translate. I don't know.
Yeah.
Good question, Carlos.
Would any of you, if let's say somebody decided to do a show like towards November, December, would you go to that show? And I'm just saying, part of me says, I would, but then the better and more logical part of me says maybe not such. I want to, my heart wants to, but my brain is telling me maybe not a good idea. What do you think about that? Is that something that you consider, or is it better do you think they made the right decision and canceled it instead of postponing it until 2021? I mean, instead of postponing it, they're canceling it and resuming in 2021. What do you think? Anybody, Kelly or Kat, please feel free to jump in.
I think it just costs so much to schedule those things and to plan. It costs a lot for people to plan their travel and to buy airfare. So to cancel it now is kind of saving people that. I think you don't really know what's going to happen into the fall. We're all hopeful that things kind of go back to normal, but you'd hate to invest the money if it's not going to happen or if you can't do it safely. I think for like a business, it's one thing for an individual to go and decide whether they feel safe, but like a business deciding for their employees whether it's safe, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's a lot of money to commit. I mean, for CoralVue, we have to commit a lot of resources, buying the boots, and we don't buy the small one, we buy the big ones, and and all that money. And then on top of that, the organizers, sometimes they have to put money up front, and then they're on the hook. So it's kind of like a domino effect that just doesn't stop. So speaking of MACNA and MACNA, and I want to ask this question, and maybe it's not kosher to ask the question or anything like that, but I was going through the MACNA website, and I saw that pretty much all the award winners, well, no, I'll take it back, 99% of the award winners are men. I mean, what's wrong with that? I don't think it's right. I can't believe that. I couldn't believe it. I was texting Kat, and I was texting our producer Jeff, and I'm like, is this for real? Not trying to stir up controversy, but yes, I am. I think it's wrong. I don't understand why that's the case. What do you think? Anybody jump in? Hilary, what do you think? And I don't want to put you in the spotlight, and please feel free to jump in and say something, but I just think it's wrong.
I would agree. I think and again, we all might be biased, but I know a lot of women in the hobby and in the industry. I don't know about you, Kelly, but like most of my coworkers are female. So I think there's just as many women out there in the industry and in the hobby. I just think maybe we're more behind the scenes than out front facing. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that's sounds about right. Yeah.
What is it they say? Behind a man, there's always a great, woman. But it's such an 80s mentality. It's like nobody has to be behind anybody. You should be in front. And if you've done it and you deserve it, you shouldn't be left out because you're not part of the club. So I'm saying it officially. I think it's wrong. And I think it should be fixed. And hopefully, people will go to the website and vote for somebody that deserves it. And I know the Kat, you said that the website is still receiving.
Right, nominations are open, and actually, Felicia, hopefully you can jump in, because it was because of Felicia that we actually featured the first and only so far woman who has won the MACNA award, and that was Karen Britton. Britain, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She's a titan in reef breeding. The banded angel, all the difficult species so far, she's the rock star. So Felicia actually has the perspective on that.
I'm a big fan. I've always been into, reef breeding. So, I've kind of followed what she's been doing over the years, and I knew we had to say something about her. She's amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I mean, she deserves it. She totally does. And that brings me to another subject, and it's just amazing how everything is just kind of falling into place. My next question was, how do you feel about female influencers? And I think, I don't know how to ask this question, but it's like, we all know the big names out there, but is there somebody in your life that you look up to? And it doesn't have to be in the reef community, somebody that you like, somebody you feel like is a strong woman, and it's somebody that, that you want to be like, or that you're working towards, or just, somebody that you really impresses you and you respect her a lot. Kat, who is that role model for you?
So to answer your first question about influencers, there are a lot of female influencers in the hobby. I think for them, they are more on the social side rather than the academic or behind the scenes side. And it comes with its set of positives and negatives. We've seen provocative pictures. I just think that there's a mindset. There are two different mindsets. I mean, there's plenty of wonderful reef tanks with women, and that's all they focus on because that's what their Instagram account is for. So I think both, or certainly the ones that are provocative, get both negative and positive responses. At the end of the day, it's your personal account and what you want to do with it. Are you playing into the stereotype? I think that's a question that everybody can ask for themselves. As far as people that I admire, I have to mention Paula Carlson. She is just absolutely phenomenal. She's just, you can never get tired of talking with her, and she likes to talk. So I'm always, you can learn so much in just like a single conversation. So that would be somebody that I, admire. So Nicole, how about you?
Who do I admire? I think, everyone that I see, any woman that's running businesses, especially like business owners, anyone who's making the initiative to put content onto Facebook or YouTube. And I love the women that are sharing content about fragging corals and coral care. And I find that they're really trying to be helpful and help other women succeed in the hobby. So I think just, I can't really pinpoint one person, but I think just that kind of model of people that just want to help and just want to make sure that everyone can succeed.
Yep. Hilary, how about you?
I mean, there's a lot of female scientists, people that have been teachers in school, but it's gonna sound cheesy. Kelly, I gotta say, I'm amazed. Like, you run businesses, you take care of kids, and you're the curator. Like, that's so cool. Like, I want to be there in my career. So having people in those high up roles that, sometimes are, it is.
Cheers to that one. Cheers to that one, ladies.
Cheers to that one.
Cheers to that one. How about you, Nicole?
Well, I mean, I could answer the question again, but.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I meant to say
okay.
Kelly. I meant to say Kelly. I'm sorry.
How much have you had to drink before we start?
That's it. That's my first one. Yeah.
Maybe you have to drink more.
It's hard to keep track. It's like usually I only keep track of one guest. Now I got 5. I'm like, oh my God, which one?
We got your back.
Yeah, Kelly, thank you.
There's so many amazing women in this industry, in the hobby and on the public aquarium side. It's really crazy and almost impossible to pick one. I would second Paula Carlson. I've worked with her on a lot of things and she's amazing. Talking to Hilary has been awesome over the past few years. It's been a huge growth experience for me to get somebody to bounce ideas and things off of. I'm working on some conservation programs with corals right now, and the leadership in that is largely women, and it's just really impressive to see what they do and how they work every day.
No, you probably run it a lot more efficient than we would, you know. Sorry, it is the truth. If the world was run by women, we wouldn't have all these problems that we have right now. Sorry, guys. It is the truth. May I kind of give you one of my role models? You know, it's a very close one actually. CoralVue wouldn't be what CoralVue is if it wasn't for Brandy. And she is the wife and also our CFO. And that Brandy, oh my God, you know, we always say, Brandy, you never get hit by a truck, because otherwise CoralVue will just fall apart. I mean, you can say much, but Brandy and the ladies at the office, they make it work. They get the shipments out, they get everything, and you know, they're giving up a big chunk of their life and to help us all. And that's Brandy would be one of them, because it's just she's badass. That's what I'm gonna say.
She is. She's right there. She's the rock star for CoralVue. I know that. And we touched a little bit on coral restoration. So actually, Nicole has a huge part of coral restoration in her own way. Nicole, do you want to tell us about that?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, my whole story really started, you know, more than a decade ago when I fell in love with corals through coral restoration. And it led me on this path to learn about aquariums and now work in the aquarium industry. But as I'm a dive instructor, I'm still very much in the dive industry. And so a few years ago, I was asked to go to Bali and help out with a project there called Ocean Gardener. And the idea was, how can we bring the knowledge that aquarists have and like bring it to scuba divers and teach them about corals, because there's a disconnect between those two kind of spheres. And so we've been doing that. I've been helping out with that project in Indonesia now for probably 2 years, maybe a little bit more. And it's having great success. We've been able to transplant corals to the reef. But basically, it's about giving that foundation, that knowledge about corals that's so common. Well, let's say it's fairly common in the aquarium industry, but hasn't really been given to divers yet. So that's really fun thing that I do.
That's fantastic. I mean, now, do you find that are the corals coming from, like, you take corals from the wild and then make them, you know, grow, frag them and grow them again? Or do you actually bring something from aquaria, something that is, you know, maybe not there anymore, and you have to, that was native to that part of the world, but it's gone due to bleaching? Do you reintroduce it? How do you do that?
There's a combination of things. One of the reasons I really like the project there in Indonesia is it works in a few different locations, and each location is really site specific. So we have different techniques for different areas. I know the project in the north of Bali, there was a lot of bleaching recently over the past maybe 2 or 3 months. So there is more effort in the north to reintroduce maybe like the Acropora robusta, which was common before in the shallows and is now missing. And that's one of the common species that you find on the commercial mariculture farms. So it's a nice kind of balance where we can take mother colonies and broodstock colonies that were being propagated for the aquarium industry, repurpose those into mother colonies and broodstock that will be transplanted on the reef by scuba divers. So
that's amazing. That's amazing. So just a little break in here. I want to say hello to Michelle and Steve as well. They're visiting us. Marine Depot is also here visiting us. So there's Felicia. So I want to say, you know, just a little break in here. Drinking Overrun beer right here, and I know some of the ladies are drinking some wine and other libations. Care to share? What are you drinking?
Well, where is my cup at? Has anybody seen it?
FedEx didn't deliver. Sorry.
I think I might have your cup. Hold on one second. Somewhere.
Is the cup? No, it's.
Hey, Felicia.
Thank you. is Nicole's, actually.
Oh,
Oh, that's a trick. I like that one.
Kelly?
Oh, I feel left out.
There's
Cheers,
Carlos.
everybody.
This
So,
one's for you, Carlos.
oh, now you know me. Yeah, you know, that's one of the things that we always talk about it, being part of the industry and the shows. I miss about that. And it's the fact that it's not the show, it's not during the show, it's after the show. It's, you know, you're all tired, yet you get up and you go to the bar and you get to talk in person like this. We would be having this conversation at a restaurant or a bar, and we're just sitting around the table or around the bar and just talking about it. So we wanted to try to recreate this in some capacity. Now, you are all writers, pretty much. You all write for different publications. And one of the things that I've noticed lately, especially after the explosion of the internet, is the amount of information that is online and the amount of information that is good and bad information. What do you think about that? Do you think people should believe everything that they read, you know, regardless of the source? You know, how much of that information is co-opted by businesses? You know, what do you think of that? What do you think of it? Kat, I'll start with you.
Okay, well, I don't want to comment on, say, anything to do with COVID because data is coming in. Some says one thing, some says another. So who's right, who's wrong? I think the jury's out on that. But when it comes to the hobby, I think you can definitely look to, I mean, I always look at Felicia's articles. I look at, you know, Reef Builders articles to see if sources are cited. And you can usually, you know, go back and see those sources. The article, Women in Reefing, Carlos, you had a quote in there about Joy Meadows. And that was a real life experience for your relationship with Joy over the years. So there are sources that should be cited as it relates to, say, coral bleaching, which I'm pretty sure Nicole can tell us if it's how bad it is. We keep hearing if it's getting better, then you suddenly say, no, it's worse than before. So I think citing sources is really important for any industry.
Mm-hmm. Felicia, you're a writer. You know, obviously you're all writers. What do you think of holding bloggers accountable for things? I mean, I think do we hold bloggers at the same level as a journalist, somebody that, you know, and I'm not saying that a blogger it may not be a journalist. I mean, a blogger may actually have a journal degree but there's a lot of bloggers out there that have just started writing, and you know, and you can't, as a reader, you have to remember they are bloggers. They're not held to the same standards that a journalist is. So what do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
I kind of agree. Anecdote can also be important. You know, we want all of our sources to be peer reviewed. You know, we want all of our sources to be, you know, vetted but in our hobby, a lot of what we do, we're the scientists, you know, we're the ones performing the experiments. Mm-hmm. So we should get all of the information out there. And if you're unsure about something, you know, if a particular piece of information hasn't been, you know, scientifically proven yet, you know, let's treat it like Schrodinger's cat. You know, we don't know. Is it true or is it not? We have to assume both at the same time until we can, you know, have more information. Yeah,
it should be properly vetted, you know. And for those of you, I can't believe I know this, but Schrodinger's cat is the cat is you put a, you know, it's a cat in a box, and until you actually open the box, you really don't know if the cat's there or if it's not there. So it could be both. You know, but you know, Kat, you work with influencers all the time, you know, and how do you feel about female influencers? And you know, in their, you know, how do you feel about him? I mean, that's pretty much it. I was trying to figure out a good question for it, but how do you feel about him?
Well, as it relates to whether you can believe what they're saying, you really have to take each one at face value. Some have a lot of experience, some do not. Some like to talk about and in great detail about what they're doing, how they got there. Some are not afraid to say that I made a mistake. You know, I definitely, because I am in this sphere myself, when you are sponsoring someone and you put product in their hands, if they're an influencer, they're actually going to say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that may or may not be true, but for that influencer, because they're sponsored, it's a different relationship. The reason that they're sponsored is because they have a following. And if you think about it, an influencer, just the term by itself means that you are able to influence buying decisions. So there's a whole commercial aspect to it, yes, but there are plenty of companies that see good work that people are doing, and they will sponsor based off of that. So as it relates to, are they talking about, you know, this pump is the best or whatever, you really have to take each one at their face value. And, you know, I also want to like lead into maybe career advancement when we're talking about whether they're influencers, or Hilary has worked, you know, with animal training. I want to find out more about that. Women in general in this industry, I want to find out from all of you about what is a career advancement. Have you had roadblocks, or have things been easier for you? I will give you my perspective, which may be different than any other industry that women are in. My clients are so respectful, and I'm deeply grateful for the trust that they have in me. In many cases, they will hire me because I have a different perspective. So if Carlos was doing a post about a skimmer, it might be very technical, it might be very like, you know, guy thing, and I will talk about something else. I will present it in a different way, and my clients actually appreciate that point of view. So it's there's me as a speaker at Reefapalooza actually talking about influencers and the social media gold rush. So for me personally, I'm just really grateful that my clients really have this level of trust in me. But maybe you all have different perspectives. Kelly, maybe we can start with you.
Yes.
You know, it's hard to talk about one individual's experience to reflect multiple individuals, so I can really only speak for myself. I think there are certain things that are definitely tougher being a woman. I think there's maybe you have to earn your credibility a bit differently than a man does. I don't have a beard, so I don't look like a scientist. I think a lot of that can be kind of true. So I can't speak for everybody. Everybody's journey is different, but I do think there are some challenges there still in 2020.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Nicole?
I guess, well, I just work like kind of from like just for us reef builders and reef stock. I really haven't had any troubles because I've been able to grow in my position. I started out kind of as a blogger, but I've grown in my role in the industry, you know, advancing as the manager at Reef Builders and now as the event manager for Reef Stock. I guess I've just, you know, proved myself. And I get along well with people in the hobby. So I haven't had any challenges, but I can totally understand how it can be challenging for some women for sure.
Hilary?
I feel like I was a little bit differently. I lucked into a lot of my roles, and I started out and I had some really great people in my life train me. So from the very beginning, when I first started working at a fish store, you know, I'd never used power tools. And my boss was like, well, you're going to put a hole in the sump and this is what you're going to do. And here's the stuff to do it. I'm going to talk you through it, but you're going to do it. And so I have really great people behind me. And since then, I've kind of grown, and I don't really feel like I've had any negative kickback. The times that I came up feeling short, like, I didn't know, I've always had amazing people. Some of my current bosses are like, oh, well, we've never done this, we're going to do it. Oh, well, could I mess up the whole plumbing system of our aquarium? Well, yeah, but I'm going to be here, so it'll be okay. So I think a lot of great people in my life, I've lucked out.
Yeah, I wanted to, part of this, and this brings up the conversation that, that you're not alone. The five of you are not alone. I mean, when we started this project of this Facebook Live, one of my goals was to, I told Jeff and I told Kat, it's like, I want a list of women that work in the hobby, and maybe they're not, they might not be the scientific experts, or they're not flying to Bali, but you know what, they own stores, they sell product, and they know their stuff. And I just wanted to give a shout out a few people. I mean, I have Cheryl Hydra, co-founder of Hydra Aquatics. I have Sharon P. Sullivan, Neptune's Tropical Fish, Heather McNeil at Elite Reef. I also have Lisa Perez Jodri at Coralust Solutions. I like the name. Shauna Fraser McDonald and Casey McDonald and Donna McConnell. They're all co-owners of The Hook in Georgia. Ann Young is Living Reef Orlando. Jennifer Warner at New Wave Aquaria. Callie at manager at Rift to Reef, and Jen Lowey at Colchester Pet. So these are hardworking women that are good at their jobs, and they make those stores run. And I can guarantee you take them off, you take them out, and the store is just not the same. So I wanted to emphasize on that, and we'll emphasize on a couple of other stores out there owned by women. I wanted to continue to thank people. Michelle, thank you. That's awesome, Hilary. A great boss can be a huge benefit. That's what Michelle said. Francois, I really love having a different point of view in the industry. It's always good to have two different ways of doing it, So, I'm guessing he's referring to both sexes, and then, oh yeah, and then says Carlos gets to have fun conversations with fascinating people and drink during the day. The rest of us, not so much. Thank you. Yes, I do.
Carlos, I actually wanted to show Kelly's stickers.
Yes, I wanted to segue into that.
Actually, 2-in-1, because these are made by Kelly, but they are Hilary's stickers. I don't know if it's backward. But who's this?
That's Frank.
That's Frank. Is Frank behind you?
He is not. This is my 75. Frank got upgraded to 100-gallon tank.
Aww.
It's a terrible life, so.
Yeah, and this is a jellyfish, and these are done by Kelly. I have to say, so I was on a Zoom with 35 children about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I have a friend, a couple in Manhattan that put together curated sessions with different people. And they invited me to be on the Zoom with 35 children from all over the world, like Netherlands, Mexico. It was wonderful, of course, from the United States. And it was called Let's Find Nemo with Auntie Kat. So I basically showed them the reef tank, and Kelly was so kind. I did a little contest on Zoom. I said, here's my male Anthea. He doesn't have a name. I want you to email me names, and if I choose it, I will send you a clownfish sticker. So Kelly was kind and generous enough to send me these stickers that I sent out to everybody that sent in a name. I wasn't gonna pick favorites, but like her envelope comes with this little thing that says this envelope was not licked but sealed with a fish. So I mean,
oh,
and women in reefing, yay!
Yes.
Yeah, I want one of those.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. I'm not 100% sure where I got it. Hilary, did you send this one to me? Yes. Woo! Okay, so I have it.
If you guys need them, I have a few more left. I'll send them to you.
Yes. And oh, here's a CoralVue sticker. But I also wanted to show this bracelet that I got at the very first inaugural Women in Reefing event at MACNA in 2018. And this was distributed by Kelly at Seahorse Whisperer. So this is a really nice keepsake that we had. So I just wanted to mention all of that.
Thank you, Kelly. You know, Kelly, when did you start Dang Cute Fish? And how did it start? I mean, it's a drawing a day. That's I think
it's not
a relaxation. it's a
Yeah, it's been a couple of years. I've always liked art and drawing, but marine biology has been my passion. So it's kind of what I poured my career into. So now I just kind of wanted to get back into it. So it was a good excuse. And the goal is to eventually draw all of the fish, and there's a lot of them. So I'm not sure I'll make it, but yeah, we've gotten a lot done. It's pretty fun.
Can people purchase your stickers or get them?
Yes, if you go to dangcutefish.com, you'll find what you need there.
Fantastic. Now, Hilary, I got a question for you. Where do you get your inspiration for articles? You know, where do you get that information and the unique topics that you post about? What's the secret?
A lot of personal experience. Some of it's news. I have a really broad background. I've worked with dolphins and sea turtles and oysters and fish. And, you know, when I first started my blog, Waterlogged, I would just randomly post articles on Facebook and like, oh, isn't this cool? And friends from high school who really weren't in the marine science field, they're like, oh, that's really neat. That's fascinating. And, you know, slowly I was like, you know, maybe I should share with more people. So because of that, Waterlogged was founded. Oh, all right. Can I talk about the puffer training?
Oh my gosh, they're so
Yes, please.
cute.
Oh, you know what? If you don't talk about it, I was going to ask you about it anyway.
So one of the tasks I've taken on at work is training some of our stingrays and all of our puffer fish. So 4 of our smaller puffers know to go to that little target. It says tap here for food. And this is my big puffer, super, super smart. He's trained to go through hoops. It's like a big pink dog toy. And he knows if he sees that, he comes over to it and bites it and he gets food. So I really, really enjoy animal training. It's not anything that I was formally trained in, but just stuff I picked up along the way. And it's so cool. It's so cool to watch the animals learn. And it's really cool to show other people how smart fish are.
So question for you, Hilary, so you're furloughed or if they're not getting as much training or enrichment as, you know, with a full staff, do they remember? Tell us about that.
Oh man. So I actually got to go into work the other day for like an hour and a half, and I got to get in the tank and we were filming a video and I went over to say hi to that big puffer fish. Now, mind you, right before I left, he was super comfortable with me, just kind of like pulling him towards me and just like hanging out. He lets me pet him all the time. And when I went to say hi to him the other day, I think it's been so long since I'd seen him. I don't want to say that he forgot me, but he was like, who is this?
Either that or was upset. It's like, where have you been for so
Right.
long? You know, like pets.
Because he used to follow me around, like I wouldn't realize it, but he would like follow me around the tank when I was doing stingray training, and I would watch the videos. I'm like, oh, hey, he was right back there the whole time.
That's so cute. And we were talking about Kelly's Etsy store, and Nicole has an Etsy store as well, right, Nicole?
Yeah, I just have a little store where I put a few things up there. So
No such thing as a little store.
Yes, please tell us.
oh no, I mean it's
coral pictures. What are they?
Yeah, I this last weekend I got trapped in like a rabbit hole on the internet. I posted the story this week, but I learned about an artist from the late 1800s who's drawing pictures of corals, like ancient vintage science illustrations. And so there's some digital downloads available on my Etsy store, like sized in different ratios, so you can print them out. I have that. I have some pants, like yoga pants that I made with different coral prints with different pictures I've taken. Like these ones too. These ones are from Halmahera. So I don't know, sometimes I just post a few things up on my Etsy store, but it's mostly just because I really like them. And then people are like, where can I get that? And I'm like, oh, well, fine, here you go.
Are you going to make a calendar, or have you made a calendar?
Yeah,
Calendar?
you should.
A calendar, I guess. It's only May, so I guess I have the next, like,
You got plenty of
5 months
time.
to work on it.
Yeah, choose your
Yeah.
best
I'll
one.
keep you posted.
Yeah. Felicia, you know, where can people read your articles? And the compound question, what is your most memorable article that you have?
Well, I've been writing for Coral Magazine for about 8 years now. I've written for other magazines and other places online, but Coral Magazine has treated me so well. They're pretty much the only magazine I'll write for today. Probably my most memorable article was the one about Montipora corals. That one was just really fun because I got to collaborate with a lot of my friends for photos, and I interviewed sort of Sally Jo Headley from Garth. Does anybody remember Garth?
Yes, I do.
The 90s. And they started so long ago. And back then, that was the only place you could get information about these corals. You know, everybody went on Garth. So I got to talk to Sally Jo, and she is incredible. Not only is she amazing with coral and has this incredible knowledge, this woman is a poet. Just the way that she talks about things, just the conversation that we had about Montipora, I teared up just listening to her passion about Montipora corals and the story about how she and her late husband Leroy first started propagating these Montipora cats. So that was probably one of my most memorable articles.
Wow, I remember, I mean, back at, you know, I've been doing briefs since the late 90s, and I remember, you know, having Montipora confusa or the ondata. It was like, back in the day, that was like having the coral, and you would go to Garth and get that information from there. And I always have, for many years, I've always had that soft spot for the Montiporas. I love Acroporas, but there's something about the Montiporas that just, the colors are just completely different. It's like a whole new world. Which, you know, speaking of corals, that brings me to the next one. Catropora. Really? What is that?
Okay, so I did not name this coral. Somebody named it Catropora. It's actually an Acropora subulata, but back when I got it, there was some confusion that it might be an Acropora nasuta. And in between this confusion about what species it might be, it was starting to look gorgeous. And so people were asking me for frags. And that just, I don't like to cut my corals. So a wait list came about, and it's like 40, 50 people deep since back then, because I have not fulfilled anybody's wish list. So what happened was, between trying to figure out whether it was a nasuta or a subulata, somebody called it cat's whatever rata, and that didn't take. But there was, you know, a fellow, he didn't have a nano, he had a large tank, couple of 100 gallons. He got a frag from me, which is now a massive colony. Hopefully I haven't talked to him in a bit. He just called it the Catropora, in between not knowing what species it might be. And finally, I mean, everybody said, yeah, the Catropora. So you can Google it.
You can.
The coral is Googleable, and you know, I'm all about branding. So I got a little koozie made, which says Catropora's Catropora Owners Club. So whenever I would ship out frags, they would come with a koozie for your beer, and they would come on a pink frag plug. So yeah, so if you're part of the Owners Club, yeah, go for it. So that's the Catropora, and I did not name it, I swear. We lost Carlos. Okay, then. Well, I'm sure he'll be back. So
I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't say I also write for Marine Depot.
Yes.
That's all.
Yes. Hi, Marine Depot, because I heard they were watching. So we were talking about corals, and there are actually 2 restoration projects that Nicole and also Kelly, differently in your individual spheres, are doing and are responsible for. So we did touch a little bit about Nicole. Kelly, do you want to talk about the TRACT project?
Yeah, it's a coral reef track rescue program. It's a mouthful. It doesn't have a good acronym. But basically, a large portion of the reef track in Florida, which is the largest reef track in North America, is having a big issue. There's some sort of disease that is affecting the corals there, and is causing a lot of mortalities. And as I'm sure you guys already know, there's a lot of mortality in that area anyway from other things going on in the ocean, like acidification and temperature rise and pollution, but they're having a really hard time. So the Reef Track program is really, it's a huge project. There's a lot of people involved within the state of Florida to try to figure out what is causing that and how we can fix it. And then AZA accredited aquariums across the entire United States are basically being holders for those corals. So scientists in Florida have gone out, they've collected some of those corals in areas that haven't been hit with the disease yet, brought them inside, held them in quarantine for quite a bit of time, and then have sent them out so we can just hold them. So that's all that we're doing up in Sea Life, Michigan, is providing a safe place to hold these corals until it's safe to put them out. So if the disease wipes out a large area, we're not losing an entire species, or we're not losing an entire genetic variant of that species, because it could go really bad really quick. So it's just trying to make sure they're kept safe. So we're hoping that in 5 years or so, we can put them back out in the wild.
So it's a coral bank of sorts.
Yeah.
Is it open to the public? I imagine not, because I was privy to some behind the scenes at ReefGen, which is at the Long Island Aquarium. But I would imagine your stuff behind the scenes would not be open to the public.
Ours you can see on our behind the scenes tour when we're open. We're currently closed, and some of the other aquariums have them in public view to be seen. There's a pretty huge quarantine procedure to hold the animals. They are Atlantic corals, so there can't be any kind of cross contamination with Pacific corals. You don't want any diseases crossing, but you also don't want any sharing of the algae in the tissues, the zooxanthellae. So you have to make sure they're completely separate system, far away, no contamination. So it's a lot of work, but yeah, it's not open up to private hobbyists, but they can definitely support the program through other ways.
Got it. Well, time flew, and Carlos has just had too much to drink. So I'm actually going to thank each and every one of you for joining me today. You guys have been absolutely wonderful. Nicole, thank you for being in part 1, and sneak peek for our viewers. Felicia is going to be in part 2. Hilary is in part 2. Kelly might be in part 3. But, oh, hey, Carlos. But it's just been great to talk to you, and I know Carlos feels the same way, except he had too much to drink.
No, I'm here.
Well, I was just saying thank you and goodbye when you jumped in, Carlos.
I'm sorry, my internet went down, so I had to switch over to the phone, and just kind of getting it all. The beauty about doing live shows. So well, Kat, I think, Kat, you were in the middle of saying goodbye.
Yes. I was in the middle of saying goodbye. Goodbye, Carlos.
It's 5 o'clock.
And kick off. Yeah, no, sorry.
No, that's okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Sorry I had to abruptly leave. I mean, it's just the internet went down, but I want to say thank you. I had a lot of fun. It was very stimulating conversation. And I think everybody, all our guests, they had a great time. I want to say happy Memorial Day to everybody. Please be safe. Stay home, stay safe. On behalf of Jeff, my producer, Jeremy, our art director, the entire staff at CoralVue, and our very distinguished guest, I want to say thank you everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week. So stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Memorial Day.